Thank you, Commander Magdalo, sir, my upperclassman, and I will be forever your underclassman. Thank you, sir, for the very generous introduction. I'd like to say, though, that the senator who I used to speak for, Senator Antonio Trillanes, is also the classmate of Commander Magdalo in the PMA. I'd like to greet, first of all, Alpha Aviation Group, led by Mr. Nigel Harris and his wife, Kathleen. I'd also like to greet all the officials and managers and staff of Alpha Aviation Group. Today, this is primarily or equally your achievement, along with the graduates and their families. I also greet the parents, the loved ones, and of course, the graduates. But I'll get to you later. May I hear a shout out from our Alpha Aviation Group cadets? A shout out? That's a bit soft. Or are you supposed to be soft spoken? Shout out, please! Oh, they're a bit shy, Nigel. We better work on that. May I also greet my ex-girlfriend and now my wife, Maria Paz. She's here with me. By the way, we have a strictly Air Force family. Not only I, but the father of my wife, my father-in-law, is also a retired Air Force general. So you can imagine, we have a very strictly Air Force background. Although I grew up in an Army household, my father was in the Army when he was in the service. I am happy to be here. As a former pilot, I would always cherish any opportunity to address young guys with similar interests as mine. In your case, your career is just about to start. In my case, it was cut short. But if I may share to you some of the things that I picked up, nothing did I cherish more than the opportunity to take to the skies. As well said by Cadet Kim, it's really something to be up there. It's a whole new experience, you get a whole new perspective. So, a while ago, Nigel asked me when was the last time I flew. I flew the last time 5 years back in 2009. So he said, oh, you may be a little rusty also. I said, I'm very, very rusty already. So that's as far as my flying skills go. In your case, probably, you are in the prime of your training. So I think that will serve you in good stead as you pursue a career in aviation. Either you're a soldier or in any other craft, or in your case, airline pilots, there are always jokes that go with the job, right? I don't know about you, but I think you have a favorite airline joke. Well, I don't, but I'll share to you a few. Because I have to, sort of make you feel at ease before I get to my topic today. The first goes like this. An airline pilot dies in the controls, but he goes to hell. The devil takes him to an area called U Arrivals. There are 3 doors marked 1, 2, and 3. The devil tells the pilot that he's going to get to choose his own hell. But before the pilot can choose, the devil excuses himself and says he has to take care of something first, and then disappears. The curious pilot looks behind door number 1. He sees a pilot going through flight checks for all eternity. Not to mention his flight captain constantly harassing him. And then he looks behind door number 2. He sees a pilot that forever finds himself trying to resolve emergency situations. One emergency procedure after another. You know the feeling, right? And then he looks at the last door. And he sees a captain being served like a boss, waited on, hand and foot by pretty stewardesses. Needless to say, the pilot now has a pretty good idea which door to choose. And so the devil returns, just as the pilot gets back to his waiting position. The devil offers the pilot the choice of holding either door number 1 or door number 2. The pilot says, wait a minute, I wanted door number 3. Well, the devil says, sorry, door number 3 is for flight attendants. They say these days, airplanes are so high-tech that there might virtually be no more challenges for an airline pilot, since all the flying will be done by the computer. It's even possible that passengers will soon be flying the world's first fully automated airplane. So let's imagine, after the first takeoff of the fully automated plane, the passengers hear the soothing, reassuring voice of the computer. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your automatic pilot. In my modern and carefully tested system, an error is absolutely impossible. Absolutely impossible. Absolutely impossible. Absolutely impossible. But there you go. I finally hear a bit of a laugh there. I hate airline jokes. So let me get down to my message to you this afternoon. In the last 100 years, aviation has grown to be the lifeblood of a globalized economy and a true force for good in our world. This is according to Tony Tyler, the President and CEO of the International Air Travel Association, or IATA. You are therefore joining an industry that in the year 2012 was responsible for transporting nearly 3 billion people and 47 million metric tons of cargo. Aviation annually supports around 57 million jobs worldwide and 2.2 trillion in economic activity. That's about 3.5% of the global gross domestic product. Air transport connects businesses to global markets and enables worldwide access to time-sensitive products, from medicines to farm produce to emergency aid. More than half of the world's tourists, or 52%, travel by air. Aviation underpins iconic major events such as the Olympic Games and even the Football World Cup. Just this year, Etihad Airlines sported the World Cup 2014 logo on its entire fleet. Harder to measure, but equally important, is aviation's role in bringing together families and friends, bridging cultures, and spreading ideas. Aviation enriches lives just as it spreads prosperity. The IATA alone, which has 240 member airlines, flew 45 million flight hours just in 2012. Overall, there were a total of 31 million flights that same year. flown by 1,397 airlines worldwide. Remember that. Currently, there are 25,332 commercial aircraft in service, around 20,000 of which are jets, and more than 5,000 are turboprops. But these global requirements are served only by 2,272,000 pilots, cabin crews, ground services, training and maintenance staff, and around 195,000 air navigation services personnel. So you can imagine, we are a bit undermanned. The airline industry you will be entering, I must tell you, will be far different from what your instructors and trainers entered into when they were in their shoes. With the advent of next-gen or next-generation satellite-based air traffic management systems, you will now be performing in a highly time-efficient and cost-efficient operating environment. The wide availability of information on the internet has opened to the air traveler a wide array of flight services, leading to a highly customer-oriented flying experience. The airports you will be flying into are becoming more green or environmentally friendly, requiring more and more reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. And with the ever-increasing threat of terrorism and pandemic disease, airport screening for passengers and cargo will be more strict. And air routes will be more complicated due to restrictions posed by surface-to-air missiles as more conflict zones erupt throughout the world, similar to what's happening in Iraq and Ukraine. You have been told that aviation is a highly technical, highly specialized profession. That is true. Part of the yabang factor. Cadet Kim, are you familiar with the word? Yabang? Part of the yabang factor among pilots arises from that. Plus the fact, of course, that pilot training is very expensive. In general, aircrew training, not just for pilots, is really a resource-intensive endeavor. And so it is reasonable on the part of AAG and the graduate to expect that your investment in this program should bear its financial fruits right away. A quick note to the Alpha Aviation Group. The International Civil Aviation Organization, or ICAO, and the international aviation community expect that there will be a shortage of skilled aviation professionals in the near future. In order to address this important issue, ICAO launched the Next Generation of Aviation Professionals, NGAP initiative, to ensure that enough qualified and competent aviation professionals are available to operate, manage, and maintain the future international air transport system. As Alpha Aviation sets its sights on the future, I highly encourage you to take cognizance of the fact that the current generation of aviation professionals will retire. This will present its own set of challenges, as well as distinct opportunities. And this opportunity you see in getting someone as experienced as Captain Tony Duran, training our cadets. In addition, access to affordable training and education will become increasingly problematic. And so the Alpha Aviation business model will present a compelling proposition to the aspiring commercial pilot. Remember that aviation competes with other industry sectors for highly skilled professionals for their share of the cream of the crop. The lack of harmonized competencies in some aviation disciplines and a lack of awareness by the next generation aviators and air crews of the types of aviation jobs available further compounds this problem. May I just inform Alpha Aviation that the second NGAP Symposium will be held in conjunction with the 70th anniversary celebrations of the signing of the Chicago Convention. If you're not familiar, the Chicago Convention was the international treaty that established the international aviation community as we know it now. This symposium will be held in Montreal, Canada on December 3 and 4 of this year. At the symposium, the second phase of initiatives in support of NGAP will be launched, including the development of Asian and other regional approaches to the next generation problems. This will be a wonderful opportunity for Alpha Aviation to commit to creating an environment that will allow the next generation to lead the development of aviation's future. Before I end, I want to share a reflection I had back in December 2011. As was mentioned by Commander Magdalo, not only did we go to the same academy, we also went to the same graduate school. We were just a few months apart. After they graduated, I also graduated a few months after. But before I did, I wanted to ask myself, since I was graduating from business school, and the question always that confronts anybody who graduates from business school is, do you want to make more money? Or do you want to have more meaning in what you do? Don't get me wrong, okay? There's nothing wrong with earning more money, especially because you spend a lot for your education. However, I told myself I wanted to be sure that after I graduated from one of the best business schools in Asia, whatever I did, I wanted to feel proud and feel satisfied afterwards. I chanced upon an article written by one of Harvard's most renowned professors, who also was a best-selling author. His name is Clay Christensen. He offered 6 steps, which I think all of us will follow. He said, create a strategy for your life. Allocate your resources. Create the culture. Avoid, quote-unquote, the marginal costs mistake. The 5th, he said, remember the importance of humility, which was the message of Cadet Abacan. And then lastly, he said, choose the right yardstick. Thankfully, I will not dwell on the 6, but let me just tell you about the last 2. The importance of humility. According to Christensen, one characteristic of humble people stands out. They had a high level of self-esteem. They knew who they were. They felt good about who they were. Humility was defined not by self-deprecating behavior or attitudes, but by the esteem with which you regard others. Good behavior flows naturally from that kind of humility. For example, you would never steal from someone because you respect that person too much. You'd never lie to someone either. It's crucial to take a sense of humility into the world. The vast majority of people you'll interact with on a day-to-day basis may not be smarter than you. And if your attitude is that only smarter people have something to teach you, your learning opportunities will be very, very limited. But if you have a humble eagerness to learn something from everybody, your learning opportunities will be unlimited. Generally, you can be humble only if you really feel good about yourself. And you want to help those around you feel good about themselves too. When we see people acting in an abusive, arrogant, or demeaning manner towards others, their behavior almost always is a symptom of their lack of self-esteem. Which brings me to choosing the right yardstick. You're familiar with the yardstick, right? When Christensen was confronted with his own mortality after being diagnosed with cancer, he realized how unimportant money is, or his influence in the business community was. He concluded that the metric by which God will assess his life isn't dollars, but the individual people whose lives he's touched. I think that's the way it will work for all of us. Don't worry about the level of individual prominence you will achieve. Worry about the individuals you have helped become better people. This was Craig Christensen's final recommendation. Think about the metric by which your life will be judged, and make a resolution to live every day so that in the end, your life will be judged a success. So to the graduates from batch 9 and 10, you are your country's newest edition of aviation professionals. Seek and define your own success. Make your school proud, make your parents and loved ones proud. Aim high, fly high, and reach for your dreams in the sky. Blessed afternoon to everyone, and God bless you.